After a failed mission, mercenary Tyler suffers severe injuries and a concussion, causing him to tumble into a river from a bridge. Presumed dead, he drifts ashore where a little girl discovers him and urgently seeks help. Tyler is eventually taken to the hospital, under the care of his fellow mercenaries, siblings Nick and Yaz. Unconscious and gravely wounded, Yaz considers letting him go, but Nick is determined not to abandon him. For weeks, nurses attend to Tyler until he finally regains consciousness. Although alive, he remains in poor condition, requiring extensive physical training and therapy to recover. Meanwhile, in Georgia, gangster Zorab is informed by his partner Tandil that his brother David has been sentenced to an additional 10 years. Zorab reaches out to the governor, who authorized his brother David's extended sentence. The governor explains that the presence of the Americans is strong, leaving him with limited influence over the matter. In response, Zorab shares his lifelong commitment to protecting his brother, even in the face of their abusive father. He pleads with the governor to transfer David to an American prison. Unhappy with the governor's solution, Zorab reminds him that he had helped the governor gain power before swiftly killing him. A fierce fight erupts, and Zorab's men overpower the governor's guards. Zorab buries the governor's body in a grave they had previously prepared. Meanwhile, Nick and Yaz come to retrieve Tyler and take him to Austria. They have arranged a secret cabin in the forest, where Tyler's belongings and his beloved dog await him. Before bidding farewell, Nick presents him with a box filled with cherished memories. Tyler settles into a regular routine and finds joy in simple activities like watching TV, fishing, and shopping for groceries. One evening, he musters the courage to open the box and is moved to tears by the contents, a collection of old letters and videos featuring his now-deceased son. He recalls how his child was ill, and despite the difficult times, Tyler chose to volunteer for war, leading to his wife divorcing him for leaving them in their time of need. Meanwhile, Zorab's brother David finds himself attending a prison fight, but he can't fully enjoy it as he worries about his new sentence and its consequences. Eventually, he reunites with his wife, Ketavan, and their children, Sandro and Nina, who are also confined to the prison with him. Ketavan strongly objects to David's desire for their children to grow up in the prison environment, fearing it may lead them down a criminal path. In response, David becomes aggressive, slapping Ketavan and asserting that he can handle raising the children alone, even implying that he can get rid of her if he wishes. Distraught, Ketavan breaks into tears, and their son Sandro wakes up to comfort her. Meanwhile, as Tyler is making his way back to his cabin, he encounters a man named Alcott waiting for him. Alcott not only knows the location of Tyler's cabin, but is also well informed about Tyler's true identity and his past mercenary jobs. In an attempt to intimidate him, Tyler fires a warning shot, but Alcott remains unfazed. He then reveals that they share common bosses and has arrived with a new mission for Tyler. As it turns out, Ketavan is actually the sister of Tyler's ex-wife, Mia. Now, they face a crucial mission together, to rescue Mia and her children from prison, where they are held captive by David and Zorab's dangerous gang known as Nagazi. The brothers' brutal upbringing during their home country's civil war shaped them into hardened criminals from a young age. Within the gang, they have a strong sense of family, and they are willing to go to extreme lengths to protect what they consider their own. Realizing the urgency of the situation, Tyler promptly agrees to help and contacts Nick and Yaz to seek their assistance in the rescue mission. To prepare for the challenging task ahead, Tyler dedicates himself to rigorous training. He uses conventional exercise techniques, along with unconventional methods like moving rocks and practicing axe throwing to build his strength and get his body back into shape. When Tyler is fully prepared, he, along with the siblings, embarks on a journey to the prison in Georgia. Before their arrival, they had bribed a guard who had marked the correct path with small drawings on the walls and deactivated the cameras. Once they reach the prison, Nick and Yaz remain outside while Tyler ventures inside. The bribed guard discreetly informs Tyler that Gate 207 is unlocked, and then turns off the lights, granting him a tight 5-minute window to rescue the family. With utmost caution and aided by a light to follow the markings, Tyler stealthily maneuvers through the prison, inching closer to the family's cell. Ketavan is anxiously awaiting his arrival. Ketavan wakes up her children. Sandro asks about his dad, and Ketavan assures him he'll join them later. As they leave, Nina accidentally drops her toy, making a noise. Tyler steps on it, trying to destroy it, but he's too late. Suddenly, David wakes up and sees his family leaving. He whistles, signaling all the loyal prisoners to come out for a riot. The group flees, taking the stairs. Tyler has to break a door lock to access an abandoned corridor. Unfortunately, they end up in a cell surrounded by other inmates, leading to a brawl. Tyler fights off some men and is forced to shoot one to make them back away. Then, he uses a small explosive to open the door just in time before the prisoners attempt to attack again. The group continues running and notices fights happening all around. Tyler discovers an underground corridor and approaches a chute on the ceiling. They push the children through the chute to go outside and meet with Nick. However, as Tyler and Ketavan attempt to climb, David suddenly appears and launches an attack against them. Ketavan is swiftly knocked down, but Tyler engages in a fierce fight with David. During the intense struggle, Tyler sears David's face against a furnace, shatters his hand, and ultimately ends his life by stabbing him. Seeking her own vengeance, Ketavan strikes David with a shovel. Just then, a group of prisoners emerges at the end of the corridor. Tyler instructs Nick to take the kids while he searches for another way out. As the siblings hurry away with the children in vans, the police arrive in the common yard, and a brutal confrontation ensues with the rioting prisoners. Amidst the chaos and casualties, Ketavan and Tyler emerge in the yard and decide to fight their way through. Initially, Tyler manages to keep his foes at bay with his weapon, but eventually, he runs out of bullets and is forced into hand-to-hand combat, resulting in him sustaining injuries. Tyler finds himself facing multiple assailants at once as he struggles to protect her. Feeling overwhelmed, he rolls over her to shield her and throws a grenade to create some distance. Upon standing up, Tyler gets hit on the head, causing him to zone out momentarily. A prisoner seizes the opportunity to take Ketavan away. Luckily, Tyler snaps out of it promptly and rushes after them. He fights off a few cops, grabbing their shields to shield himself from the newly ignited fire. With powerful punches and kicks, he manages to push through the men and reaches Ketavan, killing the prisoner before he can harm her. Suddenly, a back door explodes, revealing Nick and her team, who have finally arrived to aid them. Nick warns them that they intercepted Nagazi radio transmissions, and they know the enemy is coming after them. The group swiftly departs in bulletproof vans, blowing up the front gate as they make their escape. Tyler instructs the children to wear bulletproof vests and hide under the back seats for protection. As they speed away, they encounter Nagazi soldiers who open fire on them, initiating a high-speed chase. Nick and her team retaliate, shooting back and causing various cars to veer off the road. However, to ensure their safety, Tyler steers their vehicle through the dense forest. The Nagazi cars relentlessly pursue them, and additional soldiers on bikes arrive, hurling grenades at some of Nick's men. Only Tyler's and Nick's vans remain, and they skillfully evade the bikers through a series of daring maneuvers, running them over in the process. However, a sudden explosion strikes Tyler's van, causing it to flip over. Thankfully, the mercenaries provide cover as the family exits the vehicle, yet Nina's hand is injured during the chaos. The group seeks refuge in a nearby factory, swiftly navigating through it to reach a waiting train, their escape route out of Georgia. As the train begins to move, more Nagazi soldiers appear in helicopters. Determined to defend themselves, Tyler searches for additional weapons on the train and counterattacks the incoming threat. Using a machine gun, Tyler shoots down one of the helicopters, causing it to crash into the snow. He then positions himself on the train roof and begins firing at the other helicopter. However, the enemy helicopter retaliates, forcing Tyler to take cover. During this distraction, a few Nagazi men manage to board the train. Nick confronts 3 of these men and engages in a fierce battle, utilizing both guns and hand-to-hand combat. Despite sustaining injuries, she manages to eliminate all 3 attackers and even throws one off the moving train. Another group of Nagazi men targets the family, but Tyler steps in to confront them as well. In the ensuing fight, one of the soldiers nearly pushes Tyler off the train, but he resolutely pushes back and continues the struggle. One by one, Tyler takes down each man, leaving Sandro in a state of shock witnessing the violence. After defeating the enemy, Tyler goes to check on Nick, fortunately finding her wounded but alive. Just as he does, the helicopter reopens fire on them once again, posing a renewed threat. Tyler got a machine gun from the defeated enemies and swiftly returns to the train's roof. He takes down the helicopter, causing it to crash and explode into the snow. Sadly, Nick discovers that the enemy has damaged the brakes, and Tyler rushes back to the family, instructing them to brace themselves as the train derails and crashes. In the midst of the chaos, Zorab and Avtandil receive the news of David's death. The soldiers recount the details to Zorab, who senses that this attack was not carried out by their rival gang but by someone else. Grieving over David's dead body, Zorab recalls their shared experiences and the way they stood up against their father's abuse. He solemnly swears to seek revenge for David's death. The group survives, and as they start to run away, Sandro repeatedly inquires about his father. Upon receiving the news of his father's death, he becomes enraged with his mother and Tyler. Following their escape on a boat and subsequently on a plane, Yaz reaches out to individuals who can furnish them with counterfeit documents. He places his phone unattended, and Sandro takes advantage of the opportunity to snatch it. In secrecy, Sandro contacts Zorab from the bathroom and seeks the truth about the situation. Through manipulation, Zorab deceitfully portrays Ketevan as the antagonist, prompting Sandro to disclose their current location. Upon their arrival in Austria, the group finds shelter in a hotel. The women take care of Nina while Yaz devises their upcoming escape route. Sandro faces Tyler, sharing the revelation that David had incarcerated them to shield them from rival gangs. When Tyler attempts to clarify David's genuine intentions, Sandro delivers an insult, highlighting Tyler's absence from his own son's life. Meanwhile, Zorab assembles a gathering of Nagazi soldiers and stresses the importance of safeguarding family. He motivates them to pledge vengeance for David's death. Avtandil expresses his discontent, arguing that Zorab's pursuit of petty revenge is putting their family's lives at risk, but Zorab pays no attention to his concerns. Returning to Tyler, he approaches Sandro on the balcony and admits his shortcomings as a father. He acknowledges Ketevan's fierce determination to protect her children and advises Sandro to appreciate her strength rather than succumbing to David's lies. Feeling remorseful, Sandro admits that the Nagazi are on their way, and suddenly a helicopter appears in the sky, accompanied by several Nagazi soldiers arriving in cars. Tyler urgently warns everyone to evacuate, and Ketevan discovers that Sandro is texting Zorab to arrange a meeting later. Sandro insists that the Nagazi are like family to him, but before they can argue further, the helicopter opens fire on the room, shattering every window. With quick reflexes, Tyler pushes the family out of harm's way and waits until the helicopter has passed before leading them to the elevator. Meanwhile, the helicopter deploys soldiers onto the roof, and as various police cars arrive, the soldiers on the streets open fire, eliminating the police to prevent interference. Back with Tyler's group, they manage to reach the safety of the garage. As they hop into the van, Sandro seizes the opportunity to escape on foot. Yaz immediately pursues him, while Tyler's group speeds away in the van. Unfortunately, they encounter the Nagazi blocking their path, and the Nagazi soldiers start firing at them, forcing them to retreat. Meanwhile, Sandro finds himself on the street, and suddenly Zorab appears, taking shots at Yaz, who quickly takes cover. Both men try to persuade Sandro to make a choice. In the midst of this tense situation, Nick arrives in another vehicle. The Nagazi launch a rocket at Nick's vehicle, causing an explosion that allows Zorab to seize Sandro and force him into his own car. Yaz assists Nick out of the damaged vehicle, and they retaliate by firing at the Nagazi. They engage in a brief exchange of gunfire before setting off a grenade to create an opportunity to escape back into the building. Inside the garage, Ketevan and Nina stay hidden in the van, while Tyler confronts the approaching soldiers. He skillfully dispatches several of them with his weapon and engages in hand-to-hand combat with the last enemy, ultimately eliminating him using a grenade. Nick and Yaz manage to deal with a few soldiers outside before deciding to take the elevator to the roof. Meanwhile, Tyler drives Ketavan and Nina away in the van, but the situation becomes overwhelming as they face a barrage of enemy attacks, putting them in a precarious situation. Forced to halt the vehicle, Tyler joins the fight, firing at as many soldiers as he can. A police helicopter arrives, but the Nagazi destroy it with a rocket launcher. Undeterred, Tyler continues eliminating more of the enemy until an opportunity arises. Seizing the chance, he leads the family away on foot, successfully making it back to the hotel just before Zorab launches an attack. Meanwhile, in a hidden car, Sandro expresses concern for his mother's safety. Avtandil points out that if Sandro hadn't made the call, she might have been spared this danger. On the hotel roof, Nick and Yaz attempt to reach a helicopter dispatched by their allies. However, they discover it's surrounded by Nagazi soldiers. Nick instructs Yaz to go assist Tyler while she provides cover from their current position. Yaz heads to a lower floor where Tyler is battling even more soldiers. Despite his efforts, he gets intercepted by additional enemies. In the intense confrontation, Tyler manages to eliminate them, but not without sustaining serious injuries in the process. On the roof, the situation becomes even more dire, as Nick sustains a wound and loses consciousness. A soldier manages to slip away, and Nick finds herself dangerously close to falling through the lower glass roof. Witnessing this, Tyler takes down the final enemy and leaps through the window to grab Nick just in the nick of time. In the midst of this tense moment, Zorab appears and fires at Tyler's hand, but Tyler's determination keeps him from letting go. Suddenly, Nick regains consciousness and shoots the glass, causing it to shatter. This act also leaves Zorab hanging on the edge, struggling to hold on. Thinking quickly, Tyler throws Nick into a nearby room through the window, allowing her to find the family and eliminate the remaining soldiers before they can harm them. After the family is safe, they reunite with Yaz and begin their ascent to the roof. As Tyler and Zorab climb up, they engage in another intense hand-to-hand fight, exchanging numerous shots and punches. The glass beneath Zorab breaks, and he plummets into the room below. In a rush, Tyler joins the group on the roof, where they're getting on a helicopter. Zorab arrives and shoots Yaz, forcing Tyler to seek cover instead of retaliating. Once everyone is on board, the helicopter takes off. Tyler tries to tend to Yaz's injuries, but tragically, Yaz passes away. Later, Tyler and the others find refuge in his cabin. Nick attends to Yaz's body while she mourns, and Tyler tends to his own wounds. Unexpectedly, Mia, Tyler's ex-wife, shows up. The sisters reunite and share some moments together before Mia approaches Tyler for a conversation. Tyler apologizes for leaving her when their son was sick, explaining that he couldn't bear to watch him suffer and die. Meanwhile, Avtandil tries to reason with Zorab, highlighting the unnecessary loss of soldiers over a woman. He urges them to move forward now that Sandro is on their side. However, Zorab betrays Avtandil, shoots him, shocking Sandro, who considered Avtandil family. After some time, Tyler's phone rings, and it's Zorab on the line. He requests a meeting with Tyler at the airfield near St. George's Church to negotiate. Reluctantly agreeing, Tyler has the intention of fighting. Paying no attention to Nick's protests, he arms himself extensively and heads straight to the airport. Sneaking around, he shoots a few guards and then destroys Zorab's plane. Zorab and Sandro flee while Tyler advances, causing every visible vehicle to explode and engaging in fights with any soldier in his way. Despite a serious stomach wound, Tyler continues his pursuit to the church where Zorab hides with the kid. Trapped, Zorab has attached bombs to Sandro, holding the control and preventing Tyler from shooting. Forcing Sandro to take Tyler's gun and avenge his father, Zorab's plan is foiled when Sandro freezes in guilt and fear. In the nick of time, Nick arrives through the back door to help. However, Zorab uses Sandro as a shield, forcing Nick to lower her weapon. In a signal from Tyler, Sandro quickly takes the remote control. A tense shootout ensues between Nick and Zorab, resulting in her being badly wounded. Tyler tackles Zorab to the ground, and a brutal fight commences using any object they can find around the church to strike each other. With the bombs removed and the control in hand, Sandro apologizes as he hands it over to Nick, who deactivates the explosives successfully. Meanwhile, Tyler and Zorab engage in a merciless fight. inflicting painful blows and causing destruction all around them. Amidst the chaos, Tyler seizes a large nail and relentlessly stabs Zorab repeatedly. However, Zorab continues to talk about seeking revenge. Finally, Tyler grabs a gun and shoots Zorab in the head, silencing him once and for all. Concerned for Nick's well-being, Tyler hurries to check on her, but their plans are interrupted when the Austrian police arrive and apprehend everyone. In the following days, Nick and Tyler find themselves in prison, with Nick finally receiving the proper medical care she needs. One afternoon, Mia pays a visit to Tyler and reveals that Ketavan and her children have been placed in witness protection in exchange for providing valuable information. Mia shares a heartwarming detail. Tyler's son's last memory of his father is not of him leaving the family, but of his father courageously heading off to save the world, leaving a lasting impression of bravery. Eventually, Tyler is escorted into a car, but it turns out not to be a transfer as expected. Instead, Alcott awaits him and offers a deal. Tyler's freedom from jail in exchange for undertaking another job. Initially hesitant, Tyler agrees when Alcott promises to secure Nick's release as well.
That's the end of the story. If you like this video, please subscribe in order to receive notifications for our future uploads.